Thank you very much. You may be seated. On behalf of the board and management and staff of the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica, I want to welcome you all to this first in a series of two public consultations with young people from across Jamaica. We're pleased this morning that we have youth representatives gathered representing the parishes of Clarendon, St. Catherine and Portmore, the municipality of Portmore, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Mary. I'd like to acknowledge the chairman of the Board of the Public Broadcasting Corporation, Mr. Gladstone Wilson. That's the gentleman dressed in legal regalia this morning. To my near right, the executive director of the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, Mr. Cordell Green. Next to him, Mr. Julian Robinson, the opposition spokesman on information. And to the far end of the table, Mr. Kimario Davis. Mr. Davis is the youth advisor to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. The Honorable Floyd Green, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, will join us shortly. So we want to move right ahead into the program because we're off to a late start. And I'd like to invite Kimario Davis to bring remarks to us. Please welcome Kimario, Youth Advisor to the Ministry.
State Minister, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Mr. Floyd Green. Opposition Spokesman on Information, Mr. Julian Robinson. Chairman of the Board of Directors, PBCJ, Mr. Gladstone Wilson. CEO of PBCJ, Mr. Keith Campbell. Executive Director, the Broadcasting Commission, Mr. Cordell Green. Members of the PBCJ Board. Members of the Planning Committee, and staff from the PBCJ. Specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to stand here this morning bringing you greetings on behalf of the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica. I am most delighted to see the significant steps that the government and agencies of Jamaica continue to take to involve young persons in the decision-making processes. It is against this background that the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica commends the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica for hosting today's consultation, and our chairman sends his regards. Sitting in this room is a dynamic group of young persons who will enrich today's consultation with the information needed to ensure that public television becomes most appealing to young people. Today's consultation will showcase how talented Jamaican youth are and demonstrate to other agencies why young people should be involved in their respective decision-making processes. Finally, I will use this medium to implore other cooperation and agencies to do all they can to get youth involved in their decision-making processes. I stand in agreement that we are the future, but decisions made today might just affect our tomorrow. Therefore, we the young people of Jamaica stand united in ensuring that our voices are heard and in every decision-making space. I challenge you, my fellow youth, not to let this be your only consultation, but to get involved in every decision-making opportunity and let your voices be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful day.
I think we can do a little better than that for DeMario, representing the youthful population of Jamaica. The latest statistics, population statistics for Jamaica, our population numbers, we are, as of July 2016, estimated to be 2.970,340 people living in Jamaica. Of that number, nearly 51% are between the ages of 0 and 24. So it speaks, these numbers speak to the youthfulness of the nation and where we stand in terms of public information and just how, as a corporation, we're considering the programming and the decision making being so developed to capture the points of views and the perspectives of young people in the country. The chairman of the board will speak much more about that a little later. So let me move on with the program, and I'm going to invite at this point Mr. Julian Robinson, the opposition spokesman on information, to address us.
Thank you, Mark, and you should have added that I'm in the 51% that you mentioned, 0 to 24. The chairman of the PBCJ, Mr. Gladstone Wilson, the CEO, Keith Campbell, the executive director of the Broadcasting Commission, Cordell Green, the young people who are here, the stakeholders, good morning to you all. I really come here to listen, and I will stay actually for one of the sessions because I'm primarily more interested in hearing what you have to say. The media landscape and the technology has changed rapidly and is changing rapidly. And it presents a whole set of opportunities for us, economic opportunities, opportunities to interact. But there are also challenges and there are also dangers. And as legislators and as public officials, we have to ensure that we find that balance. The balance between ensuring that we are up to date, that we, and quite frankly, you are more up to date than many of us are, but ensuring that policy remains up to date and enables, but also, as I say, it should ensure it protects as well. And there are dangers in the internet landscape, dangers of inappropriate content, dangers of violence, and in other countries, terrorism. That may not be applicable here, but there are other issues of online grooming, etc. So we have to find that balance. And it's a difficult space, and I don't know that, you know, any particular jurisdiction has gotten it right, because it's such a challenging space to regulate and a challenging space to manage. But I really want to hear from you guys what you think can be done and should be done, and what are the things that you are interested in seeing done. So I'm happy that the PBCJ has facilitated this type of discussion, and I certainly, as from the opposition side, we are keen to hear what the findings are, and we're keen to ensure that policy reflects what you want while ensuring that we meet that balance between growth and protecting interests. So let me congratulate the stakeholders, thank those of you who have, some of you I understand have journeyed from far to be here, and I look forward to the deliberations that will take place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. And now I know the next presenter. He's a little bit under the weather like myself, but he will no doubt bring a riveting presentation on content and new technology. And so we're pleased that the Executive Director of the Broadcasting Commission is with us. And so I'm pleased to invite Mr. Cordell Green to now come and take the microphone. Cordell.
Could we get that the screen on, please? Well, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure being here. Yes, I'm a bit under the weather. I'm actually doing an audiovisual presentation, so what I'm doing here needs to be projected. If the technical persons could ensure that that is done for me, please. The projector, I think, is off. Like Julian said, I am here to listen as well. That's my yes, that's my primary interest. But I also want to just share some views on the content ecosystem, because we're here talking about public broadcasting and the environment in which the PBCJ now operates is markedly different from the environment which existed at the time the PBCJ was created. I'm really sorry that you're not seeing what I want to share. I'm going to proceed nonetheless and speak from what is before me, but you know, part of what's happening too is that in the new environment in which we're operating, as Marcia Forbes will no doubt probably share later, video is king. Content is king, but video is really king. And I would imagine that the youth who are here are experts on that and know that even more than I do. So when I come to talk about the content ecosystem, I can use a written text, but I also appreciate that in this age, one of the most effective ways in which you can communicate is to use video. Okay, so there we go. And just a little cue. All that I said, you say when your presentation isn't ready. You kind of ramble on. It came on just at the point at which I'm saying, oh my God, what do I say next? Huh? I have to say something about Donald Trump. Let me find that tweet very quickly. Okay. So, listen now. Yeah, there you go, stretch. Now, one of the main issue we have to contend with as we talk about the PBCJ and the delivery of content is that there is a change in consumption patterns. Certainly for a demographic, your demographic, there's no change. You have been born and are consuming a lot of content online. For many others, that's not how we are accustomed to consuming content, but we have also had to shift to online content. So 80% of millennials consume all their video and other content online. Now, this is coming from a Pew research out of the United States of America, but we can extrapolate. We are prototypes of human system interaction, so nobody beats us in terms of how we engage with technology. So it follows that it's not very different from how we consume content. Now, I raise this. Julian mentioned terrorism. Because when we talk about content being consumed online, one of the main medium for the consumption and sharing of information is social media. And we talk about social media a lot in terms of our personal interaction, but there is also an insidious part of social media, which is not part of our conversation here because it seems to be something distant. And it is that terrorist groups are very strong in their digital media and content creation skills. They are, in fact, competing for eyes as the PBCJ competes for eyes. They use social media to gain sympathizers, they use it to raise funds, and they recruit disaffected youth. And I'm just going to show you a little video here about how ISIS creates content. And I'm sharing this because as we view this, we have to think about who is the PBCJ competing against. They are competing for eyes. And how you package your content determines who will be commanding eyes.
FBI director is sounding the alarm about ISIS, saying the terror group is reaching deeper into America thanks to a disturbingly sophisticated social media campaign. ABC's senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas investigates the group's high-tech recruiting efforts and why they're working so well.
In this online production mimicking the extremely popular Grand Theft Auto video game, ISIS terrorists sell adventure with murder and mayhem as fun. The subtitles brashly say, "Your games. We do the same actions in the battlefields." The terrorists are using more than just video games. They're using hip-hop to lure young recruits to the front lines of a deadly war. They're marketing smiling children, selling a false version of life under ISIS rule, even using a fighter with model good looks to promote their cause. Some videos target women with a direct appeal.
We have houses, we have security.
What he doesn't say is women are being raped and sold into slavery. The online messaging slick. Far broader and more subtle than the vicious beheading videos the public is more familiar with. The production values top-notch. As good as any commercial you can see in the U.S. Top law enforcement officials tell ABC News the country faces an unprecedented threat. The most sophisticated marketing and social media campaign ever devised by a terrorist organization.
Now, is that something that is far-fetched, distant from our own engagement in Jamaica and this region? No, it is not. There's information that Trinidad has supplied ISIS with more foreign fighters per capita than any other country in the West. They like Trinidadians because they get high up in the ranks, they are very respected, they are English speaking, and they can be used very easily for propaganda. In Jamaica, now remember, the target is disaffected youth. In Jamaica, as Mark said, and as Julian said, we have many disaffected youth, over 120,000 young people between 14 and 20, not in school or in jobs. That's what's being reported by Dr. Herbert Gale. He has also pointed to young men with first degrees, not laggards, educated young men with first degrees, listing scamming and gang executive positions as occupations. Now, there's a conversation that needs to take place about this. And I raise it because we have to ask ourselves about the role of a public broadcaster in that conversation. But remember, as we talk about that conversation, we have to reflect on the video I showed before, which is about how the competing content, the content that the PBCJ will be putting out to address these types of issues, the competing content which is destructive in nature is being packaged in a very slick way, using video game technology with high production values. It just seems to me, as a matter of deduction, that the PBCJ will have to have no less high production values and slick approaches to packaging of content if it proposes to put out competing messages and win over the ears and eyes of young people. And this is something that I'd be very interested in hearing your views on later as you deliberate on this subject matter. But there are also new and different issues that are emerging because of this new ecosystem. That's now blurring the lines between public health and national security and what we call content regulation and consumption. Depression and self-esteem issues that are being brought about by digital isolation, those who have to be connected and stay connected, and who need to have validation in new ways, in different ways, likes and clicks and shares and so on, which requires a different psychology and a different intelligence to understand, to manipulate, and to respond to, and to survive. Reading deficits, because we now skim and scan, move very quickly over content. Impaired social skills, because we now communicate in very, very different ways, a shortened speech. We have issues around revenge porn, cyberbullying. We have sleep disturbance issues impacting on learning, attention, and memory loss, because children now go to sleep, some of them, with their earpiece in, because the latest thing that comes out, you can't miss that, because if you miss that by 2 hours, you're really out of touch. That's history. When you get up in the morning at 8 o'clock, whatever it is that went out at 11 o'clock that you're going to engage on, that's history. A conversation needs to take place about these things and what we're going to do about them. And then internet addiction disorder and all types of problematics with internet use. Here's an illustration from South Korea. I'm sorry.
In South Korea, it's game on 24/7 at popular internet cafes. Known here as PC bongs, they offer gamers a comfortable, social environment to relax, eat, smoke, and of course, play video games with their peers. Another draw, the gaming systems in PC bongs are usually top-notch. But there's a dark side to South Korea's gaming culture. Video game addiction is widely regarded as a major social problem. In perhaps the most extreme example, a couple was convicted last year of letting their baby starve to death while they spent countless hours playing an online game. They were adults, but a national survey last year found video game addiction impacts children the most. According to the study, nearly 14% of 9 to 12-year-olds in South Korea are internet addicts.
So, folks, I can add to that smartphones and other devices are in the hands of many eager young hands, and there is no age limit to purchasing data. What is the data being used for? We know that there's a lot of free, harmful content online, including pornography. And we also know that many of our parents are unaware of settings that can help to protect against exposure to harmful content. We also know that in this age, it is increasingly difficult to inoculate. There was a time when you could say TV signs on at midnight, and then it's went 24 hours, and you could say prime time is this time, and you could say the watershed is 9 p.m., and you could say all kinds of things. But it is now very, very difficult to mediate young people and content. And so the question is, how does a public broadcaster help us to frame these issues, understand them, and aid us with the new intelligence that is required for an age that is really very different and is changing exponentially? So, in short, we have to be rethinking not just the purpose of public broadcasting, but we also have to begin to interrogate what are the approaches, the new approaches required in how we create and distribute content that serves a public interest purpose. So those are my comments. It's not not intended to be an authoritative statement. I'm just raising some issues and hope that in the process of your deliberations, you might find them useful as you think about these matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those perspectives too, Cordell. Great social media perspectives for us to consider as we discuss today youth and public media access in this special Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica Youth Consultation. Minister Floyd Green has arrived. We're very happy that he could make it. We gather, Minister, there were many demands on your time this morning. So without further ado, we're going to invite the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, the Honorable Floyd Green, to address us.
Members of the platform and our chairperson, I say special welcome to the chair of the Broadcasting Commission Board of Directors, Mr. Wilson. I see our youth advisor, Mr. Davis, and other members of our youth advisory team. Sir Julian Robinson, opposition spokesperson on technology, and Cordell Green, the head of our Broadcasting Commission. Other specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I see a number of special guests. How are you, Sir Frick? Good. Firstly, my apologies. I, however, did say I would get here at 10. But when I got the call that we had stated to start at 9 and I was scheduled to speak before, I tried to ensure that I got here in good time. The good thing is that today is not really about the speeches from the government representatives or from the political directorate or even from the board or the head of the Broadcasting Commission. Today is really a day for us to listen to the views, the voices of our young people. I'm not sure how much background has been presented in relation to how and why we are here today and how we got here. But I think it's a very good story to be told. And I pause to say a special good morning to Mr. Campbell, who I know has been calling me to ensure that I am coming. For the first time last year in October, the PBCJ, the Public Broadcasting Commission, held our forum looking into different aspects of public broadcasting and how can we finance public broadcasting. And we did invite a wide range of presenters, and some of those people who attended included our young people. And during the suggestions and the exchanges, we found that, by no stretch of the imagination were we surprised, that we got very good ideas from our young people in relation to how we could make public broadcasting practical, how we could make it reach the intended audience, and how we could reform and revitalize our public broadcasting system in general, and also our public broadcasting station. And as such, when I met with the chairman of the board after, we thought it very important that we not allow the conversation to just stop at that initial stage, that we take it a bit further. And one of the things that we have committed to do as a government in a very real way is to engage our young people in policy formulation. We fundamentally believe that our young people have the expertise, have the knowledge, and are willing to actively participate in guiding us as a government towards what they want to see implemented for their country. I think we do have a history, unfortunately, of incorporating our youth after we have determined what needs to be done. So we normally determine on their behalf and then go to them to say, this is what we've determined. What do you think about that? We're changing that approach. Our approach is really, we want our young people to be integral in that determining process. To integral from the get-go in telling us what they want to see us achieve. And as we are finalizing our new national youth policy, which is right now to go to the Human Resource Committee of Cabinet as it makes its final journey to Cabinet and then to be tabled, which I hope to have done in another 6 weeks. In that policy, it speaks to ensuring that we have you participating in a very real sense. And that is what this is about. This is about giving you your opportunity to speak on various issues in relation to public media access, in relation to how you want to see your government ensure that entities like the Public Broadcasting Commission, that they are so organized that they serve the interests of you, our youth. And so I'm very, very happy to see that a number of you are here. And I hope you will take the opportunity to really give us constructive criticism. And we are very open for that. And I know the team will tell you, speak very frankly, and also to give us suggestions on how we move forward. That is one of the reasons why we put together a Youth Advisory Council. And they have been integral, and Camario would have spoken, and I'm sure, as he normally does, did very well. But they have been put in place so that we have a natural connection in terms of policy formulation with our young people. And they have been integral in putting together this consultation. And this is the first of two, because I, for one, who hails from the best part of Jamaica, I see the St. Elizabeth people nodding because they know. Recognize that our consultation should not only be in our urban centers, but we also have to go to our rural parts to consult with our youth, because youth all over have a very clear picture of the Jamaica that they want to see. And we have to, as a government, provide them with those platforms, that opportunity to speak directly to us. So that is why we're here. And I really look forward to your presentations. I will have to run out, and I expect to come back. And I do hope that when I'm here, I will be able to hear from you in relation to some of the ideas that you have, so that I can also make some notes. So I will be in and out, but forgive me, because, you know, it is one of those days. But this is a critical part of our agenda. And I always say to our young people, please, we will provide the opportunities. We will give you the platforms, but take advantage of them. Ensure that you give sufficient thought and recognize that in your participation today, you are going to be shaping the public media landscape of Jamaica for the foreseeable future. And my commitment is that we will take the suggestions, we will look at how we can implement them, and where they accord with our policy direction, we will implement them. So don't believe that you're only brought here to just speak about it. What we want you to also do when you leave here is track us in relation to the implementation of what you have put forward. And I will tell you, this is the approach across our ministry that we're taking, definitely in relation to all our major decisions, all our major policy imperatives. In fact, I know the minister has organized now to meet with our Youth Advisory Council in relation to the financing of tertiary education. They have already submitted a paper, and we're going to discuss it. Right now, the Advisory Council is in the process of putting together a youth consultation on the National Identification System, which is a fundamental change to how we operate in Jamaica. But more than that, you may not know, but 2 of the members from the Advisory Council served on the committee that formulated the law that the Prime Minister laid in Parliament on Tuesday. So we really see our young people as equal partners in developing a new, better, and prosperous Jamaica. So I wish you an excellent day. I will pass through, I will drop in, but feel free to share. And finally, you know, sometimes they say think outside the box. You know, my friends that listen to me will tell you that there's no box. Let's remove the box altogether, right? Give us, I said to my youth leaders last year when we met about some of the ideas, that I'm not even going to give you a budget. I don't want you to think that you're constrained by cost. Let us hear the ideas first, and then we see how we can make that happen. So remove the box. Give us what you believe is in the best interest of Jamaica and our youth in relation to public broadcasting and the wider issues of social media, regulation, and information flow and access. I am sure you will have a wonderful day. I see Marcia here. I hope she's tweeting away, as she does so extremely well. Enjoy. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those very engaging and sincere expressions. As we now move to the agenda, the stage has been set, and I'm going to invite Mr. Gladstone Wilson, the chairman of the PBCJ, who will now talk through how we're going to go into our deliberations today, how we're going to structure our conversations, and how we will report back at the end of the process, and then the way forward. So please welcome Mr. Gladstone Wilson.
Mr. Master of Ceremonies, thank you very much. I wonder if you'll first allow me to bid welcome to our special guests, to the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, the Honorable Floyd Green. Good to see you again, sir. And I'm going to take all the points that you have made in terms of your commitment and the plans and policies that will be ensued shortly. And I can tell you, Minister, you must be back here at 1 o'clock and stay until 3 o'clock. Because I think when you hear the report of the 3 groups, we certainly would be interested in your reaction to some of the suggestions and to be involved in the discussion. I also want to welcome Mr. Julian Robinson, Opposition Spokesman on Information. And we have pledged to have some engagement because we believe that both the government and those who are government in waiting ought to know what we are doing and facilitate some of the exchanges that are so important. The representative of the Social Development Commission, I think, is here. I want to welcome that person too. I want to tell you that the ministry, the Broadcasting Commission and the SDC, Social Development Commission, have in many ways been our collaborators in mounting this youth consultation. And we are very, very happy that they were able to join us in presenting what we have today. Kamara Davis. Kamara Davis is an advisor at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and he's also a member of our planning committee, very valuable member, and we say thank you very, very much. To the youth ambassadors, I see Tajani Christian is here, but the others, if you're here, we want to welcome you. Members of the board of PBCJ and the 2017 Youth Consultation Organizing Committee, Mr. CEO Keith Campbell, the staff and volunteers, the facilitators and note takers, which if you look in your program, you can see who they are, and certainly the panelists who have come from far and wide. You know, I was struck by what Cordell Green presented in his fine expose on changing times, changing ecosystems, and certainly changes in consumption patterns of particularly young people. And if you look in the program, I make mention of how things and times have changed, and changed dramatically. Because I remember in the 1970s, there was a big piece of equipment called a portable. It was bigger than a handbag, and people were walking around for those who can afford it. And that's how they communicated, the first sign of the cell phone. What has happened today? A cell phone now can hold in one hand, and you can do unimaginable things about communication with that piece of equipment. And so there's a dramatic shift, and I agree with Cordell, and there's a dramatic shift also in consumption patterns. Today culminates in a joint effort of 5 organizations, 18 committee members, predominantly of young persons. I'm looking at the list of the members of the committee, and I think, except for 5 of us, all of the other persons were young people. And I was really happy about that. We could get so many young persons. Mr. Richards wouldn't be in that category. Okay. That we could have gotten all these young persons. And also joining us were youth cohorts, as mentioned before, from St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston and St. Andrew, Portmore, St. Catherine, and Clarendon. And that group also included 2 members of the disability community. All the teachers and principals from 30 schools and community groups was fixed on one objective when we planned this consultation, of getting from a representative group of millennials their own sense of themselves, their own sense of media use, and what program content would attract their interest throughout the broadcast day. It is the experience of these persons and the practice of these groups that we have particular interests. We know that whatever we hear today will not be a fulsome survey of young persons in the country. We know that. But we think that if we get a sense from a representative group, it can help us in what we do. This is the first of 2 consultations, because when we're finished here, we are going back to the drawing boards to plan the second one, which will cover the western and central part of Jamaica. Now further, and equally important, the PBCJ wants young people to create their own media content as organized and produced by young persons across the island, which reflects the views, their own views, their aspirations and reality of life in their individual communities. And that we want to emphasize today, that we are very much interested in those areas of their lives. We want to get from them their experiences in their schools, churches, and other social organizations and the wider community. This concept, if accepted with your full participation, will help to redefine, in my view, youth and public media access in Jamaica. So what of the agenda for today? Those present will be divided in 3 separate groups of 10 each. And we hope we have all the participants here by now. Each group will be facilitated by 3 experienced professionals, namely Elaine Wint, with her note taker, Rochelle Robb. Panel 2 will be facilitated by Dr. Marcia Forbes and her assistant, Bjorn Perry, and Ms. Kenya Mathis, assisted by Shanique Miles, will lead the discussion with panel 3. These note takers are here to really take note of the suggestions and ideas presented in the 3 separate discussions. They will then reassemble and report from 1 until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, Elaine Wint, Dr. Marcia Forbes, and Kenya Mathis were especially chosen because of their wide experience of working with and engaging young people. I would say for the last 40 years, but if you separate them, it's really more than that.
Kenya, we will say 7.
Let me tell you, Elaine Wynn came into broadcasting well over 40 years ago. and she has been engaged in working with young people and other groups, in focusing them on the subject at hand, guiding the discussion. Marcia Forbes, if I can recall, managed TVJ 20 years ago. And ever since, she has not left Twitter and her other social media. Never left it. And of course, Kenya has worked with some young people. I had a discussion with her and was just fascinated what she's doing. Similar to what we want to do here, she's doing that with a younger group. And so her expertise, knowledge of motivating, getting people to focus on certain areas of production, script writing, all of that is just wonderful. And I think we will benefit from the experiences of these three facilitators. Now, each group will be engaged for approximately 2 hours. When we take the break, we take a break for 15 minutes for you to have some refreshment, and then you reassemble in the different meeting rooms. Team 1 will be in caucus room number 2. Team 2 in conference room number 4. I think this is 4. And team 3 in conference room number 3. And what we are doing is to put you in separate groups so you can talk and talk for as long as you want. Team 1 is being asked, among other things, to explore what are the social characteristics of the young people they know and what kind of content they are interested in, if you can tell us. What time of day, even what time of day do you as individuals have access to media, and whichever media you're talking about. Team 2 is being asked to explore several topics, but more specifically, the popular media platforms available to each of you. The PBCJ has a special interest in using popular production and media in education. We need to hear what areas can be of assistance, particularly in the preparation of yearly exams. And I know that Minister would be particularly interested because of some of the challenges in our present delivery system and for people to grasp and learn and do well in their exams. We believe that media in all forms can be of assistance in that area. Team 3 is tasked with exploring practical steps that can be of use in the production of programs and news. So each panel will look at that question, just that Team 3 will be more focused. And why we're doing this is that we want to get a sense of, in the future, forming production teams as you go home and in your community to be able to produce your own programs of whatever subject matter. And PBCJ will assist in guiding you, shaping the programs. You will do the recordings from your own ideas on very, very smartphones that is of good broadcast quality. And you'll be able to produce the programs for Jamaica to see. And we are intent on pursuing that line of organization. So I just implore you, when you are in your discussion today, don't be shy. Explore the issues vigorously. We want to hear your view. Make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to say what is on their mind as we look forward to when you address us or your representative address us this afternoon in an eagerly awaited session. So very shortly, so we say, first of all, to all our viewers that we will be back. We'll take a break because in the sessions where the 3 groups, we aren't able to carry that live. We have decided to give the young people a chance that they can talk. But when they come to report at around 1 o'clock or thereafter, and you can watch your screens for the notice when we will come back, we hope that you will join us. The minister's promised that he'll be here. Julian Robinson will be here. Cordell Green Yeah, Carter Green has to take some medicine first, so he'll decide a little later what. And others I know will be here to listen. So we say, after you take the break, you talk, and we listen. Thank you very much. So can we take the break? 15 minutes? 15 minutes, you can. Yes, we are running behind time, so we're trying to catch up. So 15 minutes, please. Take the break and then go to your respective meeting rooms. Your facilitators will meet you and you set the agenda and you start talking.